This is a Caprino studio production, and I'm your host, Arun Sridhar. On behalf of all of us in the production team, I want to welcome you to another episode of our immersive production. So please wear your headphones or use an appropriate sound device to listen to the podcast. It is only right that you get to hear the episode in the way we intended it to be. Let's start then, shall we?
Kenya, 1902. In the heart of Nairobi's Indian Bazaar, amidst the clamor of merchants and the hum of chatter, a young doctor from Goa stared at his patients with a growing sense of dread. The blazing African sun was relentless. Sweat dripped down the young doctor's forehead, his eyes searching for a single ray of hope as he continued to inspect his file of patients. Suddenly, his face grew pale and he stumbled back in horror as if struck by lightning. He had uncovered something sinister, something that he had seen back in India. As the young physician struggled to grasp the consequences of his finding, his heart raced. He had seen quite a few patients like this in recent days, and the number of people afflicted with similar symptoms was increasing every day. Lives were on the line, and time was running out. Would he be able to protect his patients from this deadly disease, or would he too fall within its snare? The answer remained shrouded in mystery, hanging over the Indian Bazaar like a thick fog.
From Caprino Studio, this is A Road Less Traveled, a podcast that seeks to dig deep into our collective archives to take you on a journey to show you how stories about India, Indians, and foreigners that are relatively unknown and underappreciated have changed and impacted our lives, society, and culture. Come along with us as we seek to hold your hands and travel through this amazing journey, paired with our own brand of unique storytelling, thoughtful music, and sound design to inspire, engage, and entertain you. If we have crossed paths before, a warm welcome back to you. For those who are new, there is only one way to get to know us and the stories. Get stuck right in and join us as we sail through this adventure together. Let's get started, shall we?
And this is Sandhya Nagarajan. Let's leave our physician in the busy Nairobi market for a few minutes and take a journey into the heart of Africa. As the 19th century drew to a close, a great migration was underway in Kenya. Traders and businessmen from the west coast of India flocked to the country, seeking new opportunities and fortunes. But they were not alone. A wave of Indian laborers, mostly from the Punjab region, had also made their way to Kenya, lured by the promise of work on the Kenya-Uganda Railway. The landscape of Kenya was changing rapidly. As Indian laborers looked out at the unfamiliar terrain, they knew they needed a place to settle. They had been brought to this foreign land to work on the Uganda Railway, and they needed a home away from home. So they chose a location near a vast uninhabited marshland for a store station and campground. Little did they know that this decision would be the spark that ignited the birth of a metropolis. Nairobi was born from humble beginnings, a railway camp and supply depot, but it was destined for greatness. But the story of Nairobi is far from over. As the sun set over the young town, a story as old as time was about to unfold. Deep within the heart of the city lay the Indian Bazaar, a place steeped in history and tradition, a living story of daring Indian traders who first set foot in Nairobi with nothing but a dream and a burning desire to succeed. These traders brought with them a legacy of entrepreneurship and rich cultural heritage from the dusty roads of Gujarat and the vibrant markets of Maharashtra. At the onset of the new century, in February 1900, the streets of Nairobi welcomed another stranger, a man with a hint of mystery and an air of determination stepped off the train from Mombasa. Yes, he is the same man we spoke of at the beginning of the episode. His name was Rosendo Aires Ribeiro, who was born into a Portuguese family and had come all the way from the distant Indian state of Goa. He was a medical practitioner, having graduated from Goa Medical College in Panjim. Let me forewarn you, though, that the stories that swirled around him had me convinced that he was part eccentric and part genius. The unconventional methods and fearless demeanor of this Goan doctor became fodder for gossip and spread around the city like fire. Some Kenyans were skeptical, but others saw hope in his arrival. After all, Nairobi was a place in desperate need of a private medical practitioner. As he began to set up his practice, many wondered what sort of man he was. But one thing was certain. Rosendo Ribeiro was not one to shy away from taking risks. Along with Mr. C. Pinto, his assistant, he began his practice, settling inside a tin shack tent using just packing boxes. Little did they know, Ribeiro was about to change the course of Nairobi's history forever. Whispers followed Dr. Ribeiro through the bustling alleys of Indian Bazaar like a shadow. Some were in awe of his medical prowess, while others smirked at his eccentric habits. There was one particular aspect of Dr. Ribeiro that did the rounds with gusto, and it had nothing to do with how he looked or how he dressed or how he treated his patients, but who his companion was. If you were standing, sit down, and if you were sitting and about to have a drink, stop and listen. His companion was a magnificent zebra, almost always dressed in a suit and hat, and with a briefcase in his hand. He made house calls on the back of a zebra. As they watched the doctor trot by on his striped companion, the townspeople couldn't believe their eyes. But as they quickly discovered, there was a method to his madness. You might ask, why a zebra? Why not a horse or a car? After all, a private medical practitioner who set up shop in Nairobi and always dressed in Western attire should have been reasonably well off. But you see, cars weren't that common in Nairobi at that time. And with horses falling prey to equine fever, Dr. Ribeiro had found a solution in the form of a Chapman's zebra. It became a symbol of Dr. Ribeiro's unwavering dedication to his patients. This particular breed had been crossbred with horses to create fever-resistant mules, and the good doctor had taken it upon himself to ride one into town. But as the years passed, the zebra became more than just a mode of transportation. It became a symbol of Dr. Ribeiro's unwavering dedication to his patients and the community he had helped found. And as he tethered his trusty steed outside his clinic, the people knew that they were in good hands with the doctor on his zebra's back. We now know from accounts that his eccentric mode of transport overshadowed his medical prowess. Within the walls of his small makeshift clinic, he had created a miracle, a malaria drug. He even patented the drug and sold it to an international pharmaceutical firm. The man, though, was to face his greatest challenge yet. The year was 1902, and young Nairobi was bustling with life. The Indian Bazaar chirped with activity. But something sinister was brewing beneath the surface. An Indian shopkeeper had fallen ill, and before anyone knew it, a mystery disease had spread like wildfire. But as the death toll rose over 20, the mystery deepened. With each passing day, the stakes grew higher and the clock ticked louder. But Dr. Ribeiro never wavered. While examining 2 Somali patients in his clinic, he found the symptoms eerily familiar. This is something he had witnessed back in his homeland, India. The filth and squalor of the streets had created the perfect breeding ground for the disease, with rats and scavengers running rampant. He was certain this was the lethal bubonic plague. He stood firm in the face of the greatest crisis of his career, determined to do whatever it took to save as many lives as possible. He immediately called an emergency meeting with the leadership of the British Protectorate. But as he gathered with the leadership, a sudden obstacle emerged. The medical officer of health, inexperienced in the ways of tropical diseases, froze in terror at the news. A shocking decision was made by the officials. The Indian Bazaar, a bustling hub of life and commerce, was to be evacuated and burned to the ground. What would happen to the thousands of people who called the bazaar home? The fate of countless lives hung by a thread. The panicked officials executed the shocking containment plan. As Dr. Ribeiro stood there, watching the flames consume the once thriving bazaar, he knew that this decision had come at a great cost. The livelihoods of innocent people, their homes, all reduced to ash, including his house and clinic. But he had no other choice. He did his best to diagnose and inform the authorities of the spread of the deadly disease that could decimate the entire population. The town was burned down, but millions of lives were saved. If it were not for Dr. Ribeiro, the 75 million plus deaths that the Black Death caused in Europe during the 1400s would have paled in comparison. Despite the passage of time, the people of Nairobi did not forget their first private medical doctor, the savior of their town. His legacy lives on, not only in the memories of those he helped, but also in the very fabric of the city. A school and a street were named after him, in honor of his unwavering devotion to his patients. As we come to the end of this podcast, there's one last piece of the story that needs wrapping up. You might be wondering, what happened to the zebra after all those years? Well, it is reported that upon the doctor's return to India, the zebra was sold to the Bombay Zoo for a sum of rupees 800. But here's where things get a bit strange. As the local legend goes, in the early years after the burial of this pioneering Goan Doctor, a herd of zebras would occasionally appear near his grave. You can dismiss this as coincidence or folklore, but it's just another piece of this incredible story that will continue to intrigue and captivate us for years to come. And if you are curious to see what Dr. Ribeiro's Nairobi looked like back then, catch the movie The Ghost and the Darkness, which tells the story of a pair of man-eating lions which terrorized workers during the building of the Uganda-Mombasa Railway in 1898. Thank you for listening.
You've just listened to a Caprino studio production. Our stories were written and edited with the valuable help of Banshori Bhattacharya. The impeccable compositions that you listened to were performed by Dr.ShivaShankar, and the sound design was done by myself and our wonderful sound engineer, Mr. Swaminathan ThiruGnanaSambandam. Look up our show notes and don't forget to follow us on Instagram and ensure you get all the updates on our WhatsApp channel. We will see you soon with more stories. Until then, stay well.